when we were in school.
Yep, that's what's up.
That's what's up, man.
That's
How you
what's
doing?
up. Good. And I'm just having a long ass conversation, man, about sports, like with some niggas.
Oh man, of course. Of course.
So it's
I
gonna
know, I know what you're saying. I know. Sports conversations. That's it. Never grow out of them.
Yep. I went
Yeah.
on for like maybe five hours or 6 hours.
My G got emotional.
Just talking
Yeah.
football and banter.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mean the real football that's played with the foot,
Yeah, exactly. With the
right?
foot, yeah.
And if you touch it with the hand, it's a foul. That football, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. All right. Mhm.
I say, man, it's always confusing, like explaining to somebody. Like, say when you say it to like a Canadian, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, you're watching football. It's like,
Mhm.
it's like,
And then you have to say soccer.
yeah,
And the worst
exactly.
part is that name doesn't even make any sense. It's like
Bro.
it's like soccer. Like what? Like what? So I actually did some
Mm,
study, so some research on that, like
mm.
how they how they got about the name
Oh,
soccer.
oh,
Oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
really?
You want to know? You want to know?
Yeah, how do you do that?
So they came about this name. Like this is amazing. This is one of
Mm,
the most amazing things that you will ever know.
mm,
So they used to call it because there was already
mm.
football that's
Yeah.
played with hands, and
Mm-hmm.
it's shaped like a rugby ball. Okay,
Yeah.
they so desperately wanted to name it football. Okay,
Mm.
that they already had football, so they wanted
Mm-hmm.
to name. Uh, but but in the beginning, they didn't
Yeah.
have any other name. Like they didn't come up with the name soccer yet. Okay,
Mm.
so of course they had to adopt the name. They had to adopt the name from the European sport football,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
But
Uh-huh.
because they already had football, they used to call
Mm.
it association football.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because there were a few associations who used to play that. Okay, it
Mm.
was not a
Mm.
big deal. But it was not a big sport in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they call it association football. Now, if you how do I say this? So like how Americans have this tendency to shorten things, you know,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
to shorten everything that's out there,
Mm.
to just shorten,
Mm.
and like they don't have to say much of the
Uh-huh.
word, right?
Yeah.
So what they did is that they took so the spelling of association is Association.
Mm.
Association, right?
Yeah. Mm.
So there is SOC. There is a
Mm.
SOC in there, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So instead of association, they said association, right? But they didn't want to
Oh.
say the whole association, so they just said SOC.
Ooh.
And then they were like, soccer. I am not kidding about this. I
Really?
am not I'm not kidding about this. Yes,
What?
because okay, you might not it all might sound absurd, but
Mm.
the name itself sounds absurd. So the story
Yeah,
has to
it
be
is. Yeah.
absurd itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The story
The
needs to
name
be absurd
sounds
itself, right?
very absurd,
So
actually.
yeah, and then Canada just does what America does. So, you know, it's not a Canadian
Mm.
thing. It's an American thing adopted by Canada because Canada doesn't have its own identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
they associate everything with America. So that's how they came about the name. And
That's
they
crazy, man.
and they destroyed the name that's supposed to be for the sport that's played with the foot, and
Mm.
they gave it to
Exactly.
a sport that looks like a rugby with a lot of padding. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, let's get into it. So
hmm
yeah, so introduction. Yeah, my name is Toby. I, you know, I live in Canada with my nigga here. We met in school. We met in school over assignments.
Yep, that's it. We were just helping each other out. That's it.
Over assignment, and then it became like this brotherhood of talking about
Yeah,
shit.
and then we started to live together, and then you left
Yeah,
me
exactly.
because the girl you broke up with was too important for you. Right?
I, actually,
Yeah,
that was definitely like definitely one of those reasons, man, for sure.
yeah, I know,
Just,
I know.
just,
I understand, man. I understand. There's two people in you. Every every guy has two people, and the second person is sometimes like they can't tell right from wrong, you know.
right?
And the second person makes the first
Sadly.
person leave their friends, you know, real friends. Anyways, but because we're real
Yes.
friends, so we don't, like we don't hold anything out on each other,
Yeah,
like, like we
exactly.
don't hold on to stuff. So, you
Yep.
know, yeah.
I like the one time where was when when I gave you my caps, right? Like you were wearing my caps, and then she came over at that time, and then she was like, why are we sharing caps? Like why is he wearing your cap? Like because of the sweat and everything. I'm like, and because she obviously she bought the caps for me, right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
um,
Really?
now she wants the
Two
caps
guys
back.
just
She
exchanging caps. So by this logic, like
Yes.
what does she do, like when if she's watching a game with you, if she's watching like a match with you, like
Yeah.
a football match or like a basketball match, like a real football match,
Mhm.
and she sees two guys just like exchanging jersey, I'm
Mm.
sure that's more sweaty than, like,
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
For
right.
sure. She no, she'll
Than
go
the
crazy,
than the,
man.
than the cap we
She
shared. But
she
anyways, it wasn't about the cap or anything. It was just
mm,
her,
yeah,
like destroyed, rotting from the inside, and just
yes.
making sure that nobody else is happy.
Mm.
She couldn't handle the brotherhood that we had, you know.
Yeah, she couldn't,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. She wanted to
She
she wanted to make sure that they,
mm,
like these people, but like these two guys, they don't have that
mm,
rich relationship, you
yeah.
know.
She just wanted that for herself. Like it's more like she just wanted it for herself only. She didn't want to share like
Well,
a person
if
with
it,
someone,
if two guys can't share, like, like clothing, shirts, caps, like
then
anything
what else?
except under.
What else should they be sharing, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like that. And girls, they share stuff all the time.
Exactly.
You're right.
They do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Anyways, moving
Yeah.
on.
So
Yeah, go on.
yeah, so I mean we just became, buddies since then, would I remember when we take like these long ass 1 hour walks from from my place to your place, and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle. Like
Uh-huh.
and then we'll now walk all the way to your place. And sometimes you follow me back all the way to my place. Like that was just
And
crazy,
that's too,
crazy.
and that too, like in freezing temperature, right?
Bro,
Right.
like it was crazy. I remember one
Remember,
night when
remember when our snots they froze
yeah.
on our,
Yeah,
on our upper
exactly.
lips?
That night, there was one time we went out in the night. I don't remember it was minus 22 or something like that. And
Yeah,
then
we toked
we're
up.
smoking,
We
yeah,
were
we're
baked.
smoking out that night. But then we didn't check the temperature like before leaving the house. So like when we
Yeah.
got like halfway down the road, we're like, yo, like why is it so what's wrong with our fingers and our mouths? And I was like, what? When we saw the temperature, we just started running back to the house, man. Man, that day was crazy.
Ontario.
It was crazy, man, that night, man,
Hmm.
bro. Like I
Hmm.
could literally not feel my lips, my fingers. Like it was just
Nose, any extremity that's,
bro,
like that's just protruding out of you,
mm,
just, like it's just froze. Yeah.
bro, crazy,
Hmm.
man. So yeah, I mean that was how we I'll say like that's how we bonded, and then started to go from there to having like conversations, hanging
Hmm.
out in
Hmm.
different places and all that. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, and I mean that's what brings us here right now, like
Yeah.
having to have
Yeah.
this type of
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to start with um when is that? Do you want to introduce? Do you want to say anything on what I've said so far? We should just let it.
No, I don't want to say anything. Like I just wanted to say that we thought about it. Like we were having these conversations over the phone, and then we thought that,
Mm,
like it would be amazing to just record these conversations because these conversations were of real value, and
yeah.
and everything that I want to anything that I want to say is uh, that, like I am a curious person myself. I live my
Mm,
life in sort of I would say, a
mm,
unique, different-ish way than,
mm,
what society wants me to live, and
mm,
or the society wants you to, like be. And
mm,
like that, I've been doing that even before I met you. I've been doing that
mm,
ever since I was in India, and
mm,
I've been and like I sort of consider myself a wanderer. Like I wonder a
mm,
lot about a lot of things, and that
yeah.
leads me to a lot of conclusions, a lot of things
Mm,
that I get to know.
mm,
Like it leads me towards a lot of readings that
mm,
reveals a lot of things to me. And
mm,
so I've always been sharing those
mm,
experiences with you over the call, and I think uh, I think that's where we decided that like these experiences need to be shared, on a broader scale. But I would say that you bring out these conversations even in a like you bring out these conversations in a better manner because you are yourself a very curious person, and you keep asking me
mm,
questions that keeps making
yeah.
me think, and then
Mm,
and these conversations just like they get broader and even more exciting.
mm,
So it's
yeah.
just one of those
It's
conversations today, and I don't
yep.
know like what you're gonna like. I don't know what you have planned, but yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. So yeah. What we have planned is the question of who we are and why we're here.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I mean, who are we and then why are we here is I mean that's one question that people don't pause to, ask themselves. And I feel like it's something that we should actually do.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like not just even do it in person, like not just do it like by our like being by ourselves, like having the conversations with like other people too, like people like you, like the way we're having this conversation right now, being in community where we're having this kind of conversations, not just, having the conversations in our heads only, that kind of thing. So for you, like who are you and why are you here on like in this world? What are you doing in this world?
You know, a lot of things that you said, but I'll just
Mm,
begin with what you just said in the starting.
mm,
When you started talking about this. Uh, the first thing that was very interesting is that you said
mm,
that people don't pause to ask these
yeah,
questions to
yeah,
themselves. And that was very interesting. That was a very, 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 very interesting thread that I can maybe,
mm,
try to try to
mm,
like a try to draw on. I think that that question is sort of buried deep in all of us in
mm,
our unconscious. That
mm,
question is always with us, and we are all asking that questions to ourselves almost all the time, but we never explicitly ask that question. It's like that question is on autopilot.
mm,
It's like it's in us, it's surrounding us
mm,
all the time, but we
mhm,
never ask that question
mm,
explicitly. And I think one of the reasons is that that question is just too maybe difficult to ask or maybe too
mm,
profound
mm,
for us to like to comprehend on.
Mm,
And what happens is that sort of limits us. But we ask that questions, I'm sorry, that question in different
mm.
forms. I'll tell you how we
Yeah,
ask that
yeah.
question. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing. We don't even ask
Mm,
that question. We ask that
mhm,
in a different form. And it doesn't even sound like that question, but it is that question.
mm,
Like whenever we're going through a bad time, uh,
yeah.
we always say, "Oh, why is it happening to me?
Mm,
Oh, why is it happening to me?" Yes, you're not asking who am I and why am I here? But that why is it happening to me is sort of like a side effect of that question.
mm, yeah.
You know,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
yeah, it's sort of that side effect of that question. That
Mm,
question is so profound. Is that it's like how do I say this? It's not the main thing. It's
yeah.
not the
It's like
main
a
thing, but it's
watered down version of that question.
yeah. There are so many other versions. It's like like when we fall in love with someone, when
Mm,
we fall in love with someone, suddenly there is this eternal happiness that just washes on upon us for some
mm,
time, of course.
yeah,
You and I
yeah.
have been
Mm,
there,
mm,
and
mm.
it's very hard to find words to express the
Yeah,
amount of
true.
love that we're experiencing for that person.
Yeah.
It becomes
Mm,
very hard to, and then that is one more of the version of who am I? What is this? What's going
mm,
on? It's
mm,
whenever we find ourselves in a conundrum where we know that nobody will be able to answer this question for us, no matter if they went to Harvard,
mm,
no matter if they went to, like, no matter if they are the fucking expert in the fucking CERN, Switzerland, like they are in charge of the particle accelerator, we know that nobody will be able to answer that question. And when we are in that moment, we are inherently asking the question, who are we? And why are we here? Who am I, most importantly,
mm,
and why am I
mm,
here?
mm,
And I believe that that question, we need to ask that question explicitly and,
mm,
with the bravely. We need to ask that question bravely
mm.
to ourselves.
So when you say like ask it bravely, like what does that look like?
Excuse me. Um, when I say ask yourself bravely, is that because we inherently also know
Mm,
that if we go on to this path, everything that we know
mm,
as itself will start breaking. Our own reality as we
mm,
know it, our own reality that we have made out of the existence that we're living in, whatever it is, like our own identity, things will start breaking. We know that
mm,
inherently because that question is it's a path not taken. It's a path taken by
mm,
a very few. You know, we know these
yeah, true.
people as
Mm,
Jesus and Buddhas. You
mm,
know, you know, and Jesus and Buddhas and Zarathustras and and Krishnas and all these enlightened people.
mm.
But they and like and some other people as well. Like I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know about Dr. Richard, who's also known as Ram Dass.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, he was a Harvard professor, and then he
Mm,
went to India, and his whole his whole perspective towards life changed, and
mm,
so a lot of people, but
mm,
very few. Like if we compare to like how to get rich, that
mm.
question is asked maybe if there's 7 billion people in the world right now, maybe 6 billion people ask that question. You know, you know,
Yeah.
how to get rich. You're
Mm,
right.
mm,
Because that's a path taken
yeah.
by most of the people. But this path, this is
Mm,
actually beyond rich. This
yeah,
is
it's
this is a
definitely.
path. If you take, you will realize that the riches that we think is the riches is just stones and
Yeah.
pebbles. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
and the real richness is somewhere else. So we
Mm.
know that path is not taken, and you know how people are. People
Mm.
just like to do what other people are doing. That's
Yeah,
why we have
exactly.
trends
Mm.
in our societies. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's why. So that's why I say bravely, because once you start on that path,
Mm.
it's going to be extremely uncomfortable, and it's going to be. I think it might be easier if you start as a kid, as a 3, 4 year old,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
it's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to do it
Mm.
at that time because you're surrounded by the people
Mm.
who are not on that path, people who have not taken that path, and like
Mm.
people who don't give a crap about that path, and people
Mm.
who just want you to be like everyone else. And I'm talking about
Mm.
parents and the
Mm.
people around us. So
Mm.
what happens is, if I ask this question, see, I'm 33 years old, right?
Yeah.
And if I ask this question to
Mm.
myself, if
Mm.
I ask this question to myself at 33, you have to understand by 33, I would have
Mm.
been conditioned
Yeah.
extensively by
I
my.
was, and I was gonna ask
Mhm.
what does it take for, so if it's easier for a kid to be able to go down that path,
It's easier for the
how
kid,
is
but it's
it?
impossible for them.
Yeah, but like, what conditions need to be in place for like an adult who is 33 to be able to go down that path? Because
Oh,
obviously it's harder for the adult right now,
that
right?
is
But
that is an amazing question, and I believe I can only talk from personal experience,
yeah.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
can only talk from personal experience because it would be injustice if I not talk from personal experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way that's possible is that something so devastating happens to you. It's like a magnitude 12 earthquake in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And everything,
Hmm.
everything that you know, as you know, the reality as you know it, just seems so moot, just seems so pointless. Everything just becomes so pointless in your life
Hmm.
that you sort of die as the person that you think you were, and then your real life begins.
Hmm.
Because that's what happened with me. I mean, I won't
Hmm.
go into details because, like it's, I can go into details and tell you about those times, but I actually, I'm actually glad that happened. So,
Yeah, you have to
you know,
be,
yeah, yeah.
because I think it feels great to know like that you're going through a path that most people often wouldn't go,
Hmm.
because I mean it's popular to want to take the easier route, right? And
Hmm.
so like, just going against what society, how society is pushing you to go into one direction, and then you're going to
Hmm.
going through a different direction is like very, it kind of is very, first of all, I think it tells of the kind of person like that would do that, in the sense
Hmm.
that this is the type of person that is able to just change their life whenever they want. Like, they can literally just say, "Oh, I used to believe in this, but now I don't believe in that." Like, they can literally just flip the switch. It's easier for them because they've been able to do it once, so they can
Hmm.
always do it again. So like,
Hmm.
but then how does it even take someone to get to that point? Because I think like you might actually need to share like what happened in your case that made
Hmm.
you to
Well, something
go in
something
that
happened.
direction,
So
because
something happened is like I lost everything financially. I had a certain
mm,
amount of money saved. I lost it, and almost all of it. You know,
mm,
I practically had my parents give me some money, and I lost it on top of that. And
mm,
it was as if I just I betrayed a lot of people, including myself,
mm,
and I could not bear that burden anymore.
mm,
And I decided to perish this physical form that I have, you know, to just,
mm,
and in that moment,
mm,
I found a book. It's amazing.
mm,
I was planning to do that. I was Googling that and all those things.
Mm.
But here's the thing. Here's
Like what
what's,
things what things are you Googling?
oh, just how to kill myself and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Right? And here's the thing. Yes, I didn't do it, but just by Googling it, just by having the thought of it,
Mm.
I did it inside somehow. It happened inside
Mm.
on a micro level. It happened
Mm.
inside. You know, if I'm thinking about killing myself, then something is already dead inside,
Mm.
you know,
Actually,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
sort
that's
of my
true.
second birth.
Mm.
You would not believe if you met a 25-year-old Nullen, okay, if you met a 25-year-old Nullen, you would
Mm.
not believe that I am the same person because I am not. That 25-year-old Nullen was constantly chasing the next best thing, you know,
Mm.
was with a new girl every 6 months. Um, uh, like had a fast as hell bike, like a motorcycle,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
was cool,
Mm.
like jacked, and
Mm.
I'm still relatively jacked, but
Mm.
you know, uh, but yeah, that person just died, and I still remember my roommate saw me,
Mm.
and my roommate saw that this person is just like not himself right now because usually I'm a very chirpy person. Like if you're around me, you know that. If
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
around me,
Mm.
it's
Mm.
very hard for you to be sad. Okay.
Mm.
Now, if you
Mm.
are really sad, then you will resent me because I'm always happy. Okay. No matter what happens. So he saw that, and it was very obvious that I was not doing well. So he took me to
Mm.
Starbucks. Like it was in New Delhi,
Mm.
back in India, and he
Mm.
took me to Starbucks. As like he said, well, dude, let's go out for a coffee. I said no, I don't want to go. He's like, just get out, take your mind off stuff. It'll be fine. And I still
Mm.
remember I was just passing by, and then there was this roadside vendor, like right on the sidewalk.
Mm.
Um, um, Footpath for the British English. He was right on the footpath, and he was selling these books, and this one book caught my mind, and the book's name was "The Power of Your Subconscious Mind" by Dr. Joseph Murphy.
Mm.
And I don't know, like I just picked that book up, and I got it home. I started reading it,
Mm.
and once I started reading it, I read it over and over again, I think 3 times.
Wow.
And what it told me is that whatever physical reality of things that I think is, the world is actually a mysterious and a way
Mm.
more mysterious place, starting with our bodies, starting with our minds. And I was like, and that just sent me down a rabbit hole. I'm still going down that rabbit hole.
Mm.
And I think I've been going down that rabbit hole for 5, 6 years now in a row. Like
Mm.
that rabbit hole has been my whole life.
Mm.
And one interesting thing that you said that, like a society, you talked about society and, like taking a different path.
Mm.
Here's how I say it. I say going down the right path while society is on a different path.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Society is actually the wrong way. Society is always going the wrong way. Okay.
Mm.
And there is no fault in society because society means a collection of people. And if
Mm.
people start going down their own path, that means, a deterioration of society. So the society does
Yeah.
not, it's
Mm.
nothing bad. It does not want that. Like if my hand starts doing, like a thing of its own, my brain,
Mm.
my brain won't want that, right? If
Mm.
it just becomes autonomous and like it just starts doing whatever it wants whenever it wants, like it has no I have no control over it, so my brain does not want that. So you have to
Mm.
understand society is also an organism, you know
Mm.
and
Mm.
the more people flock out of society, the weaker society becomes. And
Yeah,
society is
so
needed. Society is actually very important
yeah,
because I
yeah.
don't think that all of us are
Mm.
born
Yeah, I was about to
equally
ask exactly.
in that intelligence spectrum of
Yeah,
things.
because I was about to ask do you think that so that means you're saying that are you saying that every are you saying that we need that diversity? Like not we don't want everyone going in
No,
their
not we,
yeah.
not you and I. I'm talking about society. Society does not want that. And it's because some people are not capable of of doing that.
Mm,
It's like this conversation, you know? Like
mm-hmm,
there are not a lot of people. If you open YouTube and stuff like that,
mm,
like there are podcasts now.
mm,
There are places now where people are talking about these mystical things, you know.
mm, mm,
But there are not many, and
mm.
I don't think that we are
Yeah.
ready yet. Okay, so
Mm,
as I said, that we're not all on the same intelligence spectrum. See, if somebody has a great life where they are just meeting people, having drinks on weekends, have an amazing house, have an amazing car, have an
mm,
amazing family, uh, and like, and they just like meeting people, and they know a lot of people, and they have an amazing social structure. That person will never go down this road
yeah, because
because
it's just
why does that
perfect.
person need to? It's perfect,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That person will
Mm-hmm.
never go down this road. It's perfect, and that is totally fine.
Mm,
That's like that's how it works. But
mm,
for some people, it just it things have to elevate, you know,
mm,
and yeah, that's what it is.
yeah.
So to answer the question, who are we and why are we here? Um, I would say that we should start with I. Who am I and why am I here?
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
Because a lot of things don't make sense.
Mm,
Right? Everything on this earth is perishable, including these
mm,
bodies.
mm,
So I cannot tell you that I cannot, like there's no answer to this question
mm.
because the answer to this question is one, but there are different paths. There are
Okay,
different
there.
versions of the of
Mm,
to the to to achieve that answer.
mm,
And I would say that I because I'm still on that path. I'm still on
yeah,
my
yeah.
journey, right?
Mm,
But I can tell you how one can start, you
mm.
know, how one can
And,
start going
and
about it.
and what does that look like?
That looks like, first of all, is just, I would say, dropping your ego.
Mm.
The first thing
But
that you,
how do you drop the ego?
here's the thing.
That's
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
mm,
that's an amazing,
mm,
or
mm,
let me tell you what ego is.
mm,
See, people don't have the remotest of idea what ego is,
mm,
and that's where all the confusion comes from. Ego
mm.
is not a bad thing, but we always take it in a negative sense. It's like the
Yeah.
word experience. It is amazing. I love this. This is one of my favorite things. It's like if you talk to an older person, and if
Mm,
an older person is telling you not to do something, the older person would say, "Oh, you know what? You should listen to me. I have a lot of experience."
mm, mm-hmm.
I don't know, like every time they say that they have a lot of experience, they
Yeah.
somehow want us to construe that it's a negative thing. Well, experience can be a positive thing as well. Experience
Yeah.
can be a positive
Yeah,
experience
that's
as well,
true. That's true
right?
actually. Mm, mm-hmm.
Right? Experience can be a positive experience as well. But
Mm,
but here, that's this is where society's negative sort of little things
mm,
affect us. You
mm,
know, it's like nobody ever told me. So every time somebody says, I have experience,
mm.
I am automatically to construe that, okay, this is a negative thing. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
right?
mm.
So experiences can be positive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So it's the same thing with ego. It's like,
Mm,
you know, we always say things like, oh, his ego couldn't handle that. He has a giant ego. He has a big ego. So I'll tell you. what ego is in its most elementary form.
Mm.
Like what a cake is or what a
Mm.
dessert is in its most elementary form. It's sugar,
Mm. Mm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think the ego in its most elementary form is nothing but your name. That
Mm.
is your introduction to the ego.
Mm.
Like when you're a kid, until you learn the language, until you know how to speak, until you know how to take your own name, there is no ego. Like I can
Mm.
go to a kid and I can be like, hey, you piece of shit. Like a kid, like a 1-year-old kid, like an 8-month-old kid, and go, hey, you piece of shit, you fucking asshole. Like all you do is fucking poop, like the whole day. Like, and just pee,
Mm.
sometimes in people's faces,
Mm.
right? And like we have to fucking chew the food for you before we give it to you. You know what, dude? You're a fucking prick. You know, we can
Yeah.
say that, right?
Mm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I can say that, but the
Yeah.
kid would be like, kid would just look at me and smile and be like, yeah, like what? This guy's making funny faces because it would not make any sense to him
Mm.
or her,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is when we learn the language and we learned our own name, as soon as we get our own name, we identify with the name and we own the name.
Mm.
So our name is our first possession.
Mm.
Our name is our first identity. And that's where the ego starts. Now, is the name important? Absolutely it is. It is critical. As long as you're going to go onto this earth, Jesus needed a name, right?
Mm.
He needed a name. Krishna needed a name. Buddha needed a name, right? When they were born, Buddha's name was Siddhartha, you know? Krishna's name was Krishna, whatever. Like I don't know what Jesus was called when he was a kid. Maybe, I don't know, Jack. Yo, Jack, what's up? Stop pooping all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So, so all these people, so a name is a very important thing. But what happens is
Mm.
because as we grow up, we realize that it's not just the name that you can own. There are other things that you can own. And
Mm.
then we sort of start adding it on. So at the core, it's the name, and then
Mm.
everything else just start adding on top of that, and then everything starts becoming a part of the ego.
Mm.
Okay. Now the thing with ego is that the more you identify yourself, that it's like it's so stupid. People. So somebody bought a Honda car,
Mm.
right? Now the
Mm.
person will start identifying himself or herself with that car
Mm.
because the name spent the money, the name earned the money through hard work, the
Mm.
name did all of those things to get to own that vehicle. And say if somebody else comes along and says, you know what, Honda cars are shit. Now the person
Mm.
did not say that you are shit.
Mm.
The person did not say that, like your life sucks or whatever, like you're just like everything is just blows for you. The person only called out a car manufacturer that makes thousands and thousands and millions of cars every year. The
Mm.
person just called that company out for being shitty, regardless if it is or not. Honda cars are amazing in my opinion, but anyways,
Mm.
so but regardless how who they called out, the person will take it upon themselves and will try to defend. Now,
Mm.
what would possess you to defend something that's not even made by you, something you have nothing to do in manufacturing? And the person would be like, what are you talking about? What car do you own? And the person would like, Toyota. Well, Toyotas are shit. And that is ego is nothing.
Mm.
Ego is your identification with an object. Like some people are Apple fans. You say something about Apple, they go crazy. What? Well, I know, see, you're laughing
Mm,
at it right now,
mm, mm.
but we all have been there in
Yeah.
one way or
Mm,
the another, one
mm,
shape or form,
mm,
right?
mm,
Or another. And we all have done that.
mhm,
We all have done that in some shape or form.
mm,
And that is ego. So as soon as we start dropping the things that we identify with ourselves and finally drop the name as well. Not drop
mm,
it. You still need it for your paperwork. You still need it for your license. Not
mm,
drop it, but not get identified with it too much. Have a happy, healthy balance. You know what I mean?
mm, mm,
That, okay, I understand my name is important, but if somebody says, well, you know what, the name Nullen is shit. Yeah, okay. So if you're just saying that to me, you're saying that to maybe a million other people.
mm,
It's fine. I don't really care. And
mm,
finally, when we drop the name, that is when we disassociate ourselves with the ego. And once that happens, then
mm,
we can go where we can go there where it is beyond the name, to the source that
mm,
lights us all, that lights every speck of grass, that lights you, that lights me, that lights every dog, that lights every squirrel, that lights every tiger, every fish, every whale, that force, that quantum, that
mm.
connects us all. We can start going there. So, every time we're hurt in our egos, right? Every time we're
Yeah.
hurt in our egos, there's sort of
Mm,
a seriousness in us that makes us do
yep.
that. Like we become serious. So once we drop that, we also drop the seriousness.
Mm,
And that is the most fundamental thing, to drop the seriousness. Because once you
mm.
drop the seriousness, then if you're not serious, then you have to be happy.
Yeah.
And once you are just this being who's just being, that's literally in our names, human beings, right?
Yeah.
Once you are that person that is just being or practicing it, then you can then you can take the next step. But what that next step looks like, you have to find that on your own. But first, the ego has to be dropped.
Mm,
I'm not saying dropped from your life, but because we're always holding the ego up here, just drop it, keep it somewhere, and be like, hey, because it's a burden.
mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
is,
Definitely
it's
is.
ego is a burden.
Mm,
It's a burden. And one more thing, ego needs constant protection. It's so fragile.
mm,
Now, it's like it's like being a guard to a king. Imagine how stressful will that be?
mm.
Just being on guard all the time. And that's why egos, they deplete us.
Yeah.
They they deteriorate us. We wither with too much
Mm,
identification with the ego.
mm,
And so I think that's the first step. Dropping the ego.
mm,
Not dropping, but just taking it and keeping it somewhere else. And we can start
mm,
it with a lot of things. Like
mm,
I do that. Like my name is Nullen, but not a lot of Canadians, or not a lot of native English speakers, or like not a lot,
mm.
even Indians. They don't take my name
Yeah.
properly.
Mm.
But there was a time when I used to correct them every time, but I don't now. I was like, what's the point? It's fine, man. Just say whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, even though you say like it's important to have like those names and labels and all those things to navigate like our word, paperwork, and all that stuff. Like I found that like one of the things that has been top of mind for me in this season is like consciously trying to do away with labels.
Mhm.
But yeah, it seems like it's impossible to completely drop it because sometimes
Yeah,
how do
it's
I
not
explain
it's
how do
not impossible to completely drop it, but it's impossible to completely drop it in the first or second step. It's possible to completely drop it when you reach there, and by there I mean where you realize, who am I? You know? It is
Mm,
possible to drop it, but yes, not in the beginning. Like if you're talking about going about and
mm,
dropping it like right this second, or
mm,
like maybe a month down the line, no, it won't be possible. But
mm,
it can be possible to periodically detach yourself
mm,
from it. Make it a practice of detaching yourself from it. It is a practice
mm.
at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And that's the thing with human beings. We learn everything through practice.
practice.
It's like, when we get angry, when we really get angry and we really say stuff, and then later we realize, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Well, if you were so passionate and so right about it, why do you say that you shouldn't have said that? Because when you calm down, you realize you're the real self in you. It gets turned on and it says, oh, that was wrong.
Mm,
But we do it. So catching ourselves in the act of doing it, and then keep catching ourselves in the act of doing it, and then keep doing that every time will literally make you good at it. You know, like it's like
mm,
uh, it's it's I don't know, like it's like an athlete. Or
mm,
like a basketball player or a tennis player or
mm,
any sort of player. If they know that they're doing something wrong uh, during something in the game, then they have to catch themselves do it. Be conscious in that moment, not do it. And then
mm,
and then they can keep doing that, and it becomes a practice, and after a while they won't have to
mm,
worry about dropping it. So if you
mm,
can catch yourself right before you get angry,
mm,
and if you keep doing that, there will come a point where you won't have to catch yourself. It becomes a part of you.
mm.
It becomes a muscle memory.
Yeah, and it takes like it takes a lot of making a lot of mistakes.
Hmm.
Like say like for example the angry thing. Let's say you learn the tools on how to um minimize anger. Like if somebody says something and then you learn the tools to navigate those situations. I mean, the only time like we get to practice is when those situations come up,
Oh
like in
yes,
the
that's
moment,
it. That's it. Yeah,
right? And there's
yeah.
no
You're
there's
you're
no
you're,
other
you're
way.
absolute. That's the test.
Mm,
That's the test. That's the real
mm,
test. And those situations are the only time that you can practice.
mm,
Like a basketball player can only practice on the court.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
And
And
then,
not by playing games, not by
yep,
playing video games, like
yep,
actually being in the situation and then
yep,
practicing. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something amazing. So I tell all these things to my parents, and that's why I have an amazing relationship with my parents now. You know, I tell these things to my
Mm,
parents, and every time my parents listen to it, my parents go like, especially my mom, she goes like, "Oh, yo, yeah,
mm,
yeah, I'll do that." And as soon as the
mm,
situation comes,
mm.
she doesn't do it. And then I tell her, I was like, this is it. This is where you needed to do it. Okay? No matter how much you listen to me, no matter how much
Yeah,
you no matter how
yeah.
much you say that you'll do it. If you're not gonna do it in that moment when the situation arrives, it's not gonna happen.
Mm, yeah. Mm, yeah. I think that's the most difficult part is like even being conscious and aware in that moment when that thing that like when that stuff happens, like
Hmm.
knowing when it happens
Hmm.
is actually like the very first step in like,
You
oh,
can
okay.
you can do a lot of things to make sure. So to make that thing happen in the game or in the
Mm,
match,
mm,
of course you need to practice, right?
yeah, yeah.
So what you need to do in that moment is be more conscious, right?
Mm,
It's
mm,
be more aware,
mm,
right? So to be more aware, you practice awareness when the
mm,
situation is not there. And how do you practice awareness? You practice awareness by being aware. How? There are a few things. There are a few practices like try to find a few times in your life, in your day-to-day lives, where you focus on your breath?
Mm.
Because here's the thing, when you focus on your breath, there is no other place, there is no other thought you can have in your mind. I will prove it to you right now. Okay, breathe with
Mm.
me. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So we go. So I'll say breathe in, breathe out. Okay.
Mm.
And
Okay.
let's just do that. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Now make sure while you breathe in, you breathe out, you make sure that you follow your breath all the way to the end when you breathe out and all the way in when you breathe in. So let's just do this for 30 seconds.
Wait, how do you follow? How do you follow it?
How
Like
do you
to the
follow it?
end?
It's like you just so like when you if I'm breathing out, if I'm breathing out, so this is the end. I follow it until here. And then this is the end. I follow it until here. And then I
Like,
so
are you
so
using the hand as
find your beginning, and
uh
then find your end. And then find your begin. So when the end comes in, the beginning starts right at the end. Like when you
mm,
exhale, the beginning
mm,
starts there.
okay.
And when you and when you inhale, that's the
Mm,
and when you inhale and then you exhale. So when you exhale, that's the beginning, and then you begin from there, and then you find the
mm,
beginning again,
okay.
right?
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
but then that doesn't mean
the
that
beginning is the
beginning
end.
has to
So
always
the,
match.
so the beginning is the end, and the end is the beginning.
Yeah. But I'm saying like the sequence, like
Hmm.
it doesn't always have to match like
It doesn't
where
always have to match. No, no,
yeah, it's
no.
just
Here's the thing:
spontaneous. Okay.
no two breaths will be the same,
Okay. Okay.
but you focus on it.
Mm,
You just
mm,
focus on it for 30 seconds with
okay.
me.
Okay.
Let's just focus on your breath.
Mm,
Okay, let's come out. Now tell
yeah.
me when you did that. Tell me how
Mm.
many things you thought of,
Uh, Not too many things actually.
right? It's
Yeah.
just it
The main focus
reduces,
was yeah, the main
yeah,
focus was definitely on the breath. And
on the
then
breath.
sometimes the mind would wander into like other thoughts,
Yeah.
but then still focus on the breath
Yes. So what
and then
happens is
remind me.
when the mind wanders, the
Mm,
breath is so powerful that your mind,
mm,
which literally makes you do everything in your life, if you focus on
mm,
the breath, the mind will try to like break shackles and be like, no, I want to do my own thing. I want to think of my own things. But but the breath is so powerful that the breath
mm.
is like, bro, I own you. Come back. You ain't going nowhere. So, so what happens is, so
Mm,
what happens
mm,
is this what you did for 30 seconds. If you start doing this for 30 seconds, your awareness will grow, will grow, will grow. And when that moment arrives, when you're in the game,
mm,
you're Kobe.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? That's a
mm,
basketball metaphor for you.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
Kobe.
Mm,
Nobody's taking your mind away from you. That's what meditation is. the worst thing that West has done in terms of meditation is literally they made it a thing that you do.
Mm.
You don't do meditation. You are meditation.
Meditation.
You
Mm.
know, everything is in you. Okay, so to finally like sort of conclude it, of course, we're going to have many talks about this. We're going to have plenty of talks about this. But to sort of conclude this is that who am I, why am I here, and how to do it is primarily hinges on this. That you already know, you, me, everyone already knows know who they are, including the animals, including the trees. Everyone has 100% perfect knowledge of who they are. We are literally like, uh, we are literally like, like a fabric, like a piece of thread in this universe. We are a part of it. And we all have that idea. We all know. Hey, Cooper, don't do that. Oh, my dog is scratching himself. Okay. So, so we all have 100% idea, sorry, knowledge of who we are. It's just that there are so many layers of blocking from that point to our realization is that we're unable to access it at all. It's like, here's the thing. It's like going to see someone in jail. You are there, but you cannot get them out. You see them, they're right there, but you cannot get them out. It's like having a giant rock in front of a waterfall. The waterfall is ready to flow. All you have to do is take the rock out. So what happens is, as soon as we're born, there are so many things put into us, layers and layers of teachings, programming, sayings. Oh, you need to do this by 30. You need to do this by 20. You need to be married by 28, and oh, you cannot do this. Only these people can do this, and you need more money, and this, whatever it is. There are so many layers that they detach us from our real selves. Now, we already have it. It's just that we don't realize that we are the owner of it. It's like having $1 million in an account somewhere, but you have no idea what bank that account is in. Okay, what's the account number? You have no details of that account. It is yours. It's there, but you have no idea like how to access it. So it'll always remain a mystery.
So, but the moment someone realizes that they have all that they
Yeah.
have that
We can use the money
savings
analogy.
somewhere.
That's easier for people to understand. We can use the money
Yeah.
analogy. It's fine. So as
Yeah.
soon as they realize that they have the $1 million, as soon as they realize that they have it and it's
In
lying
savings.
somewhere, they're a dog with a bone, like I am. Like, but that's what my whole life is. I know. I'm shedding layers at this point. I'm shedding layers and layers, and I think I have been able to successfully shed a lot of layers. There are still a few layers that are in me, but it's okay. I don't take it seriously. That means that I have more work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with this, even with this one, I think
Mhm.
we'll be able to touch like the meat the meat of the conversation about who we are. But I thought about it. I was like, what if we're not meant to figure out who we are? Because if we figure out who we are, then I mean, if we have it all figured out,
We
then
have,
that
like, all
becomes
of
like a
us. All of us?
yeah. Then if
Oh,
we
no, no,
have
no,
it
no,
all
no,
figured
no, no.
out,
That's
then
never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen, sir.
yeah,
Here's the
because
thing.
if we do, it makes the
There has
ego
only
even
been there has only been
worse.
a record of 24 people in the entire history of the earth
Mm,
to have achieved that state of singularity. There's only 24 people. that have existed.
mm,
People like Jesus and Buddha and Krishna. Only
mm,
24. So all of us can't. But here's the thing. Not all of us can be Kobe, but we
yeah,
can pick up the
yeah,
basketball,
yeah,
right?
true.
We can
Mm,
go to the court.
mm,
We can dribble it a little.
mm.
Not all of us can be that. But I don't think that the fun is in achieving it. I think the fun is in the journey.
Yeah, isn't just learning to pick up the ball every day.
Yeah, just learning to pick up the ball every day. Yeah, I think
Mm,
there's the fun. If you ask me, I think this is what keeps me up. This is
mm,
what, like makes me feel alive.
yeah, yeah.
I, like just look at the stars. Just looking at the
Mm,
stars. Just see, here's the thing. What you and I have, what
mm,
everyone has in the known universe, a human life on Earth is as good as it can get.
mm,
And for some reason, we make it the worst possible thing.
mm, mm. Yeah, because it's just because we keep chasing the wrong things.
Because it's all because of the ego. It's all because of the
Mm,
ego. Because once the ego comes into place, what is capitalism? What is communism? What are all these things? They're all egos.
yeah.
They're all egos in one man thinking that he knows better than
Mm,
the rest.
yeah. And then the rest inherited that thinking as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's what's up, man.
That's what's up.
That's really what's up. I
Yeah.
think yeah, we really nailed this one for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did justice to the topic. I think like we can always still take the
Oh,
conversation,
we
especially
will.
this conversation, like it has limitless directions to it. So
It has limitless directions because once you go beyond stratosphere, there are
mm,
limitless dimensions.
yeah,
There are limitless
yeah,
directions, you
yeah.
know? So
Mm,
it's 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 it is limitless because we are limitless,
mm,
you know? We
yeah.
there is literally there's like we are literally like we all collectively,
Mm,
all the organisms, the earth, the moon, the
mm,
sun, the galaxies, everything collectively. If you say that is God,
mm,
everything collectively, everything just one, that is God.
mm,
And we are
yeah.
a part of it.
Mm,
We literally make some part of it. It's
yeah.
like
We do.
a drop of the ocean is not different from the ocean.
Yep.
It is just smaller than the ocean,
Yeah,
but it's not
exactly.
different than the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Like
That's it.
find, you can literally take like a skin cell of me and you can find
Mm,
something that is also available in a star light years away from us.
mm,
That's
mm,
also present there.
yep.
So it's
Mm.
it's fascinating. It's so mystical, and excites me. I really
Yeah.
like I'll be honest with you, no space
Mm,
exploration, no Elon Musk, no Jeff Bezos, no Trump, no nothing.
mm,
Nothing excites me as much
mm,
as my own self presence
mm,
and being a part of this.
mm, mm. Yeah, I think that's a wrap for
That's a wrap
this
for today.
first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what's up.
That's what's
That's
up.
what's up, yeah.
Yeah. Look at him.